Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an episode of These Are The Voyages. I'm the Captain, Captain Chase McKinney, and joining me once again, and as usual, my dear friends, Commander Eric and Commander David. How are you, gents?
Good.
Good.
Very good. Very
Bueno.
good. Ooh.
Muy.
If I just like repeat the same thing, like with like, you know, like that questioning intonation, it makes it kind of interesting. Oh? Bien? Oh, man. Well, guys, what have y'all been up to? What's new in the neighborhood, man?
Nothing.
Nothing at
Finally,
all.
I'm back to work, right? Back on that clock.
Yeah.
Just started today, the semester. We had convocation week last week, which is always fun.
Yeah. I just got back to doing like all the, you know, new school year kind of situation, and I was traveling for work last time, and faculty workshop and new student orientation, and that was fun. Question mark. It was fun. We
Get too excited.
I know, right? We'd had this thing. I think I might have shared this with y'all, maybe like off the show, but we got accreditation. We got accredited with a particular body for our program, and we had a department like picnic kind of thing, like with like faculty and staff and our new students, and we had some alum that came out too. And this is the second year in a row that I grilled for everyone, made some burgers, some hot dogs, some grilled chicken. We ordered a sheet cake, and it was like beautiful. It's like right on this like body of water there at the university. And then we went inside after a little while and had cake, and we played some games. Had like it's not Jackbox games. Y'all have heard of like Jackbox games, right?
Yeah.
So Jackbox games, it's this like it's typically like this online thing where you can play like kind of like arcade trivia-esque games with like friends like remotely. We downloaded these games from a place called like Crowd Control Games, and like you can use your phone, it turns your phone like into a buzzer for like trivia. We had a like a knockoff version of like $100,000 Pyramid, which was fun, and we had this other one called Super Combo, where you have to like partner off with folks. So like for instance, like if like David and I are in the room like with other people, like, you know, there would be like a random category that would pop up, like movies or dinosaurs or something like so. Like dinosaurs, you do like a pterodactyl, like where you stick your arms out like you're flying, or you do like T-Rex, where you have like short, stubby little arms, or you do a brontosaurus, where you stick your arm up like you have a long neck. And basically, it does like either a single or double elimination, and depending on your pose, you either stay in or you're out. And it was fun seeing a bunch of graduate students making like goofy poses and just like getting into it and stuff. So anyway, that was my time.
Fun.
I know.
Fun.
Absolutely thrilling. Wow. Okay. Well, since nothing else is going on, I guess we can just...
I mean, yeah, nothing's going on, right? It's one of those, it's that lull time of year, right?
Welcome to August, everyone.
The dog days of August, right?
Wake
August is like one of the worst months. It's 31 days, right? And there are no holidays, right? So you just gotta like slog through it.
You gotta do it, man.
And down here in Texas, it's hot.
Boy, is it.
It's hot everywhere, but like, you know,
I was cold.
you were
Being
cold.
in Indiana, I was cold being there. Like,
Yeah, the temps drop pretty nicely up here. Up
Yeah.
north. We've you know, we took a nice little walk after, you know, getting back from work and everything. It's like, oh, it's really nice out. It's
Yeah.
great.
No,
There
you
were-
can't take a walk down here. You take the a dog on a lap around the building, and you're like, oh my gosh, we gotta go back inside.
There was a guy from I think it was the chemistry department, who saw me like working on a bench outside, and like he saw me kind of like shivering. He's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm just cold."
Why is it so cold? Space is cold. Oh, I forgot you came from a planet with 2 suns.
Oh man. Anyway, all right. Well, enough of the silly fun times. Let's just go ahead and jump right in. So, everyone, buckle up. This is your red alert as we go into spoilerific territory. We talk about the 7th episode of the 3rd season of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. What is Starfleet?
Okay, I know I did this last week, and I want to do this again before we get into it. Like, first of all, I applaud this show for like taking some risks, right? You know, I feel like for a while their television was taking a lot of risks, like in their late 2000s, early 2010s, and I feel like maybe television has stopped taking some risks lately. You know, so last season it dared to take a risk and do a crossover show with crossover episode with an animated show. It dared to take a risk doing a musical episode, right? This season I feel like we dared to take a risk with like the parody or the homage or whatever you want to call it with the Final Frontier or whatever that show was called, right?
Yep.
And now the show it's taking a risk again, right? Changing its format with this episode by doing it all in the idea of a documentary. And this is not the first show to do like a documentary style thing. Like Babylon 5 did it way back in the day. Stargate SG-1 did it. Battlestar Galactica did it. But none of those episodes were like completely from the perspective of a documentary, right? There was like a documentary crew, and then we saw scenes of the documentary. This one is all from that perspective. So like I applaud the show like doing that, but I found myself as I was watching this episode, would it have been better if they just did it straight? Like if they had just taken this problem of the week, right, this Strange New World, you know, and just done it straight from that story, and maybe the camera, you know, Beto was there, you know, asking them some questions along the way. But if it was just like he was like Beto was there a couple weeks ago in Through the Lens of Time, right? But it wasn't a documentary. Would this episode have been better if they had just done it straight? And I asked myself that, and I think it would have. I honestly do, and I just want to pose that question to you guys. I know that's kind of like a wrap it up, what do you think of the episode question, but I just feel like I need to address this off the top.
I don't know. I don't know if it would have been better, but I think one of the things that I was just I don't know if jarring's the right word, just kind of like took me out a bit, at least in the beginning, was this nagging feeling that I could have created that entire intro on my own as a person who hates video editing. I feel like, you know, it's like, dang, could I have done this in Movie Maker, you know, 10 years ago? I feel like I could have. I feel like I could have swooped in that intro. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where, to what you were saying, if they would have just sort of committed to it, like you mentioned SG-1, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They did do sort of a documentary style thing, but it was like thinking about the time too, where it was very much like, you know, sitting down, doing a little interview, running after people and stuff like that. So yeah, I might actually kind of agree and say it might have been better if they would have done it that way.
You know what this reminded me of, and I couldn't ignore it, right, wrong, or indifferent, but this reminded me so much of Stargate Universe and SG-1. Like, I'm not thinking of like the documentary stuff necessarily in SG-1. I'm thinking of like 200. Not 200. Oh my gosh, series finale. Help me, Eric.
The series finale
Yeah,
is
when they're
called-
stuck on the ship and
called Unending.
Unending. It reminded me of that for some reason. Like, that's where my mind went. Like, I was just thinking of Stargate Universe, which I did not like Stargate Universe
They had
at all.
the Kino balls or whatever.
Yes.
They could, yeah.
I was thinking of that. I was thinking of the series finale of SG-1, which I was not a fan of. But yeah, like, it was, like, to your point, you know, it was jarring, and I have made an intro like that before, by the way, David.
Yeah, I feel like you could have done a better job than I could have done, but I feel like we both could have gotten to the at least a similar conclusion there.
Yeah,
Sure.
I feel like some like the shot selection, like, oh, let's do some crazy Dutch angles, and I feel like that is like the go-to for an inexperienced filmmaker. They're like, oh, I'll just do a weird angle so it's like artistic or different, but it's like the whole thing was shot like from weird camera angles, and to me it came off as like an amateur film student project.
But
not
would
like,
that-
not like a
but is that the point?
polished- I don't know. I felt like he's supposed to be a polished journalist here, isn't he?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. It just felt amateur, this documentary. I don't know.
Maybe that was the point. I don't know if they've explicitly said that he's done other things, or if this was his first big break and he's trying to like.
Well, why
know,
would Starfleet give this? Why would Starfleet grant an amateur full access to their flagship to film this? Then
Sister.
wouldn't they want the like a good like
Yeah, maybe.
documentarian?
His sister?
Well, his sister, okay, but I don't know.
I was saying this, like, I think before, like, you hopped in the studio, Eric, but like I'm just kind of like maybe struggling a little bit because like this story just seems so simple. I don't know how much mileage you can really get out of this in terms of a discussion. That's just me.
Well, I mean, the story is Encounter at Farpoint.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Which is like a good idea. I mean, there's enough different about it, like that I think you can easily build a whole episode around it,
Yeah.
right? Without the documentary stuff.
Right, but without the documentary,
Uh-huh.
it's Encounter at Farpoint.
Okay. Yeah. But I still feel like there's enough ethical dilemma that makes it different enough for me, right, from Encounter at Farpoint, because in Encounter at Farpoint they were using it as a space, not a space station, but like
They were using it as an intergalactic vending machine.
right, and this is they're using this as a weapon, right?
Yes,
which
they
is
are.
significantly different, poses an entirely different set of ethical dilemmas.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
that
we're
I feel like makes
we're
it
relo-
makes
yeah,
it
we're
enough different from Encounter at Farpoint.
yeah, it's almost it's kind of as if maybe from my perspective, Star Trek Insurrection and Encounter at Farpoint came together.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that. Sure.
Sure.
Right, because we're relocating a resource, to, depending on how you look at it, right, to meet a particular need. Again, right, wrong, or indifferent, but meet a particular need. To heck with how the locals feel about it, so to speak.
Yeah, and I guess the fact that we can even say, oh, it's Encounter at Farpoint and Star Trek Insurrection goes to, like, I think this problem that we've been having with this entire season is that I feel like we're just, like, retreading ideas from past series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, like, the thing is, like, we all love next gen in our own way and stuff, like it, whether it's our absolute favorite of like the 80s onward era of Trek, but like it is very clear that Kurtzman and company really like next gen, And it just seems like we were just saying a moment ago, this season of Strange New Worlds is Next Gen's greatest hits, basically.
Yeah.
Like we're doing like a reunion tour, but we're just putting some dressing of Strange New Worlds on it.
Yeah,
Am I being too harsh?
No, it feels very derivative this season. Like, I mean, this show came out of the gate so strong in season one, so original, and now it's just like, okay, we're updating story. We're taking stories and changing them enough where you can pose different questions and have different discussions, but it boils down, it's the same story that we've seen before.
Mm-hmm. We've said that though. We've been comparing.
Yeah, I know we've been harping that. Yeah.
We've been comparing it all season to other episodes that we've watched in other series and so forth. So it's not necessarily that it's bad, but
no, and this is not a bad episode. Like I'm not trying to like poop on this episode at the very beginning of it, because I think it's interesting, right? And I think it is a good Star Trek episode in the sense that we're posing some sort of ethical dilemma, right? And we're, interacting with these different species to like. I think it's a good episode. Like, I'm not trying to, like I said, poop on it or anything. I just have some issues with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just try and reframe this for just a second, okay? So for maybe the style and maybe the approach, like we're kind of like harping on it and stuff, but I think also from a more positive perspective, and I hope you guys will agree with me on this, it does have a pretty straight line in terms, like with maybe a few loop-de-loops along the way, but it's a pretty straight line in terms of a story. I think I would hope we could agree with that. Like, yeah, we have some flash and dazzle, like some montage stuff mixed in, like with the interview stuff, but it's pretty parallel kind of story thing when we're dealing like with the ethical stuff, like we're talking about, and then the family stuff on the other side of it too.
I also do think that it's important to periodically go back and kind of explain what Starfleet is supposed to be, though. You don't have to do it all the time, but every now and again, I think you sort of need to be reminded that it's not necessarily always one big space adventure. Like there's levels to everything, there's, and the ethical level, which comes up in this, is as equally important as the rest of it. And like, I've even said it quite a few times. It's like Starfleet is a military organization, no matter how much they try to hide it. But at the same token, like a captain in his ship can make decisions that are technically contrary to their orders. Like it's not just blindly following orders at all times, which you do too, but if it really becomes such an ethical dilemma, you kind of got to put that on yourself, make the decision,
sure,
and maybe take the heat later, or
sure,
have a better explanation. So I think it's good to be reminded of that every now and again. I think all of us were talking about this episode early on. It's like, was this supposed to be like a season finale? Like the just the episode title.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
for a measure of good, it is good to sort of bring back the premise of what we're actually supposed to be doing out here.
And I think that's a pretty good segue with kind of like where I wanted to go eventually, David. So thank you for that unintentionally.
Or was it?
Well, by the time we get to Next Gen, kind of like just trying to like connect this somehow. When we get into Next Gen, right? Like there's like the mandate, if you will, of there can be no conflict among like Starfleet personnel, right? Like, and like it kind of, you know, like handcuffed the writers in terms of like the stories that they could create, like in terms of creating drama, basically. So we have to get kind of creative, like where like the human problems, air quotes, that we would normally experience in the real world, that has to be like with our aliens, like in where we're going, what we're doing, like with that particular mission. And then writers started to get more and more creative in terms of how they did that, right? Like we look at Deep Space Nine, where it's a little bit grittier, so to speak. It's not as cut and dry as we saw with Next Gen. We see two similar but also ideologically different parties, for the most part, having to come together in Voyager. We see the early human exploration and Enterprise, and kind of like what that looks like in terms of like how to, you know, 21st and 22nd century kind of ideologies kind of evolve into what we know the future of humanity is supposed to be. And then you know, you see more and more of that, of like the gritty and kind of like cynical, if you will, kind of perspectives. Certainly you see it in Discovery, you see it in Picard, right? And you see it in Lower Decks. And I think that's been part of the ongoing conversation for longer than we care to admit, right? Like this has been going on since at least the 90s, where we've been trying to like wrestle with like the cynicism and not having as much of a spit shine on stuff as we like to think we do. And I think this episode really shines a light on that, in terms of, you know, who are we at our core, despite how things might be shown or painted.
No, I feel like that's a good point. I mean, definitely in Deep Space Nine, we saw, you know, Starfleet is willing to do things that may seem antithetical to what our perception of Starfleet is, to justify an end, right? We're willing to, you know, start this Section 31, right? You know, shadowy organization that, oh, we're better than the Romulans and the Cardassians. We don't have a secret police organization. And then you see, you know, they create this like bioweapon to sort of attack the founders and cause them to be, you know, it's like a disease, whatever, for lack of a better word. But that was always done. I feel like you could justify, you know, in the interest of Starfleet and the Federation, and you always could, in sort of a twisted way, you could see what that justification was. As I'm watching this episode, I'm struggling to justify, like, I'm struggling to see the justification for why Starfleet and the Federation would do this mission, would take this creature who is sort of like now been turned into a weapon and help this species like turn the tables on their enemy. Because like neither of these are Federation worlds. Like we see that this Lutani race, right, helped the Klingons during the Klingon War, right? So like, what is Starfleet's angle here? And it seems I'm struggling to find that. So I'm struggling to find where you would see a justification for doing this, you know, because it was always, you know, hey, yes, we're dark and gritty and we're grappling with our morality, but there was always some reason, and I don't see that reason here.
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree. They didn't really do a good enough job of establishing why we're in the situation we're in. Like, what? Not all negotiations have to have a benefit. However, the majority of negotiations have a benefit, right? There's some trade-off. We help you in your war, you do something for us. It's like, I don't think that they said that the planet was strategic or something like that. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. There's no advanced technology that I can necessarily see that would, like, you know, Starfleet would benefit from, right? Medical technology, science-y stuff. Didn't really see anything of that. So it's like, maybe that's too background political or something, but there would have to be a way that I don't know. I mean, aside from just, I guess, being lied to, because didn't they say that this weapon creature was effectively like cattle? That was the initial premise. They didn't know it was a weapon. They thought it was like a cow, right?
Well, the way I understood it is like Pike knew that. Like my interpretation is Pike and Una, they knew, but nobody else on the ship did. That was kind of the interpretation that I got, because you see on one occasion Pike and Una are talking with Admiral April, and then you see another instance where they're talking just amongst themselves in the ready room, right? So yeah, they were calling it livestock, but they were like, well, what do they want it for? Well, that's classified. So to me, I think Pike knew.
Yeah.
I don't know if it came across that way to you.
I mean that did, yes. I'm still kind of stuck on like the benefit part that David was mentioning a second ago, and I was talking about cynicism a second ago, but I mean, war is good for business.
Yeah.
Conflict is good for business.
But like, I don't know. I just feel like during the Klingon War, we were using tardigrades, right, to power our spore drive, right? And the Admiral, I forget her name, the Admiral
Cornwall.
Who was Lorca's
girlfriend.
She was like, we need to go out there and find more tardigrades. Get this thing in our other ships to help us win this war. So like, again, you see how there's the justification. But like, I'm thinking back to Voyager and the Equinox episodes, right? Where when that other crew, that Ransom and his crew, are using those aliens as fuel, Janeway loses her shit, for lack of a better phrase, right? How dare you do this? How dare you think of this? This is a living sentient being that you're using, you're enslaving in a sense, killing, and then turning into fuel. Like, how is what these Lutani are doing here any different than what Captain Ransom of the Equinox was doing, right? You're enslaving a sentient being to use to your purpose as a weapon, which is, how much different is that from fuel, right?
Right, and is that like the thing? Like, is that like part of like one of these like messages that we're supposed to like remember? Like, if you don't remember it, you're going to repeat it, type of thing? Because like the tardigrade, I mean, it was just seen as a means to an end, right? Like just being able to hop across the cosmos in the blink of an eye, right? To heck with like a space worm, a space caterpillar, who cares? If we can get from point A to point B and like, keep the enemy on its toes, like what the heck, who cares, right? It's an engine of war. Is that what we're supposed to remember, so we stop doing this kind of crap, right? Like stop using tardigrade. We stopped using tardigrades, because one, it left, and two, we ran out of Stamets to do it. And now we don't have, and now we have this, the Jikaru, right? This space cow, whatever we're going to call the thing, that is supposed to, be a conduit for conflict, basically.
I mean, my only guess is that maybe when the Lutani have like won their war, like they'll share this somehow with the Federation. Like maybe that's the benefit to the Federation. Like, and the Federation think, oh, we'll use this as a last chance defensive weapon or something in case the Klingons or the Romulans come to attack us. But I'm reminded of another SG-1 episode where Jonas Quinn's home planet, right?
Yeah.
Builds that super bomb, right?
Yep.
And Jack O'Neill's like, you can call that a defensive weapon all you want, but it's never going to have that effect until you use it once.
Right.
Right? And so the Federation might think, oh, well, we have noble intentions. We might just use this as a defensive weapon. But yeah, things don't work that way.
The only thing I'd say to that, great thought, but like nowhere in the episode though.
Nowhere in the episode, you're right.
Yeah, it's like that right there would have been fantastic if it was explored. But it is confusing as to why we're helping. And then if Pike and Una know it's a weapon, Command knows it's a weapon. We figure out it's a weapon. To what end does any of that make sense if we don't explain it? Maybe that's the soft part in the episode then for me.
I don't know. I mean,
All right.
Admiral April clearly knows it's a weapon, even
Yeah.
though we don't see him or hear him on screen. He knows.
Attack of the Bad Admirals. The Badmirals.
Has he become a badmiral?
I don't necessarily know about that, but it's always like there's always like the pushy admiral who is clearly making a bad decision, and the captain of the ship has to clash with that. So
Okay.
Or maybe we should set this up from the top. Just
Yeah,
the basic premise, right?
Okay, so we have now that we've been talking about
Yeah, we've been
everything
talking
about
about
the
it.
episode,
Yeah.
let's set it
Yeah.
up.
You know what I mean. Like, we haven't really talked about the plot. We've just talked about
So
the idea.
so here's let me just try and do this, okay? So for this episode, we take a swing and we have documentary style, where the question is literally being asked, as the title gives it away, what is Starfleet? And talking about what Starfleet does as part of the Federation. And it is primarily exploration and function, but it also has defensive capabilities. And you see the kind of like tension of that being talked about amongst the various crew members. We see some on-screen information, which I don't think I mind. I was really minding, like seeing like some of like the complement of like how many are on the ship and like what kind of weapons and stuff like the Enterprise has. I didn't mind that. I thought that was pretty neat for the most part. But yeah, we see this kind of tension, and it's Beto, who is Humberto Ortegas, who is doing this, who's taking the lead in this documentary, right? And some of the cuts that we see early on are kind of sensational in terms of like how the information is being positioned and the angles that are being taken. Maybe as we're led to believe, just to kind of get people to watch. But then things are slowly being revealed as we get further along in the episode of motivations for questions and rationale for why this is being reported on, basically. And there he has like this like kind of like press pass of sorts to be on the Enterprise to cover a mission, and it's in a moment of drama and, well, in universe, like there's a problem that's happening. We have to get non-essential personnel off to kind of assess and start to take care of things. And that's when we really start to get to the heart of stuff, where we've been talking about, right, the Jakaru, the planet, the conflict, and everything else. So that's kind of a drive-by fruiting, but I think that's generally speaking the idea of what's going on. It's being positioned as a documentary, and we're trying to go from there.
Yeah, we start with the words on here. The who are the Karn something? What are their names? The Lutani have been attacked by a neighboring planet who wants their resources, right? And we see the Lutani have 9 million casualties in this war, and the other guy, what are their names? The Karn something or other?
Kalaran?
Kalaran something like
Yeah.
that. They have only like 119,000 casualties, which is like huge disparity. Like, how you can have that many, like, you must be at a serious disadvantage if those are the numbers. But like that's the idea, is like this planet, this Lutani, they are losing badly, and Starfleet is now here to help, right? And we are going to transport this Jakari to them, and that will aid their war efforts.
Yep.
And it's
So-
like a big space butterfly.
It is. It's like a butterfly /
It's more like a moth.
yeah.
kinda.
I was thinking like jellyfish moth.
Jellyfish moth is that's a good.
The jellyfish one. Okay.
Just roll with it, I guess.
Yeah, and it flies through space on its own, right? We don't.
Yeah.
We have to tractor beam it, I guess, but it can go and live in space on its own.
Yeah. So, upon investigating it, right, like we're trying to like collect some data of sorts on this thing, and along the way of this happening, Spock kind of has like a little bit of an experience of like a little something that kind of like jars him a little bit. He's like flooded, more or less.
Yeah, somehow it reaches out.
Mm-hmm. And he, what was it? He felt pretty like angry. Is that what it was? Am I getting this mixed up?
I think so.
Yeah. So he like pauses. He takes a pause, and he's like, you know, eventually he like wants to try and like connect with this thing, and we're gonna like engineer a way to be able to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna take a shuttle and get close enough somehow where Spock can sort of like mind meld with it without having physical contact, and we can figure out like what this thing is really thinking.
Yep.
Because even before this, a Lutani like scout ship or whatever came in there and tried to like attack this Jakari thing, and you're like, what? This is your own people's thing. We're doing this for you. Why would you come in here and like try to stop this? And then on like her deathbed, she's like, don't let our people use it. We were wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
And it does like an energy pulse thing that basically destroys the ship.
Yeah. We eventually like, was it like we shoot some kind of like modified torpedoes at this thing? Like that's how like Spock's able to do like the remote mind meld.
Well, I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to like put the suppressor collar thing back on it, right?
Like a shock. It's like a shock collar.
It's like a shock collar, and they call it a neural suppressor or something. But like, we'd modified the torpedoes to shoot this neural suppressor shock collar thing back on it because apparently it broke off or it stopped working or something.
Yeah.
And like Pike is like, we have to do this because it's traveling on its own, and what happens if it runs into somebody, a planet who doesn't understand it? What happens if I think Ortega says, what happens if the Klingons find it, right?
Right.
So it's loose, right? We know it's a weapon at this point, so we've got to try to like stop it somehow. So they try to shoot it and put this thing back on, but it doesn't work. So I think that's when Spock goes and tries to communicate with it.
And along the way, like the Jakaru's brain chemistry has been permanently changed to really only think of aggression, really.
Yeah.
And guys, I don't know if I just like spaced out on this or not, but Spock is like obviously half human, half Vulcan. So like he's got some skills that thrill, you know what I'm saying? Like he can do like some mind meldy stuff. He can do some like pinchy stuff, right? And he gets like knocked the heck out. And in terms of like, you know, it's going to take him like I think a couple days or something like that to recover from like the shock to his system of what happened. Here's where I'm having an issue, and please just correct me because I might have gotten lost, but like, why is Uhura more qualified to talk to a jellyfish moth than Spock?
Because she's trained as a linguist and a communications officer, and so her brain works better at communicating. Right? That's what she's trained her whole mission to make contact with alien species. No, I mean
see-
that's a ridiculous answer, but like,
But you see my problem, right? Like, we have a human who, last I checked, Uhura is human. So we have 50% human and 50% Vulcan, right? Like, I'm hoping the Vulcan stuff gives you a little bit of an insulator compared to a human brain, right? Like, I get she's wicked smart. You know, she can do her thing with like linguistics with the best of them. But like, jellyfish moth thing that has angry thoughts, do you really think it gives a crap about how well she can do syntax?
no, it doesn't make sense. It's like in Picard season 1 when robot, not Issa Briones' character. Now I'm drawing a blank.
Soji?
Yeah, but like not Soji, not Daj, like the other one of them that was on the Capelius planet.
Oh, the
right?
gold-faced one that did the
She
pinch?
did the mind meld with
yeah.
Dr. Girardi to pull all the information out. Like, you're a robot. Like, you can't do a mind meld just because you've studied Vulcan stuff, right? Like,
That's like a squib trying to do magic in Harry Potter, for crying out loud. You can't. You can do your swish and flick all you want, but you can't do magic.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Eric. David got that one.
Yeah. But hey, she can sing to it. Power of music.
power of music.
Yeah, like we have like a fun little like horse, metaphor about raising it and, having to put it out to pasture and stuff, and that's exactly what we're going to do, and cool.
Yeah, the creature wants to die, right?
Yeah.
It basically says, like, I've been manipulated and altered, so I only think about aggression, but, like, I don't want to do this, so I want to die. And so I guess this is my other question. So they decide, hey, we're going to lure it away and lead it into the sun, right? And it's going to self-immolate and, literally burn up into this sun.
Mm-hmm.
If this creature wanted to die, and if its neural suppressor, its shock collar, is no longer working, why can't it drift off? If it can drift off on its own towards some planet, and who knows where it's going, why we have to potentially stop it? Why can't it just go to the sun on its own? Why do we have to sort of lure it that way? Like, why do we need to help it? Why do we need to help euthanize it? Why can't this Jakari just commit suicide on its own?
Well, but wasn't kind of part of it. So they had the other alien ship.
Right.
Was it maybe, I mean, this is like really stretching and I don't even believe it myself, but is it kind of like a thing where it's like a red herring, where it's like, we're leading it away. It's gone now. We saved you.
But before that other ship even showed up, like, when it did its energy pulse thing at the Enterprise and disabled the Enterprise, why couldn't it have just taken off then, right? And left everybody behind and gone toward the sun?
Well, there was the other part, though, about it reaching out and saying, about the children and everything, and they made the promise that they'll be okay. So maybe there's part of that you can sew in there, too.
It had to stick around long enough to tell us about its children and make sure they're protected before it goes off.
Find somebody you can trust to actually do it before you go off. I don't know.
I was confused when I was watching it, just because like we're getting was it Tychus? Is that what the name of the planet was?
Tychus is the moon, the water moon where it's located.
Yeah, they're going to quarantine Tychus B as a sanctuary world.
A sanctuary world, yeah.
So, yeah, like, I get that the Jakaru was irreversibly altered and stuff. I don't know where I'm going with this. Uh, it was irreversibly altered. Like, why couldn't there have been, if this place is being designated as a sanctuary site, like, why couldn't there have been some kind of attempt to try and make right with what was done to this thing? If the payoff has been to create a safe place.
But I think that's the point, though. It's too far gone.
Yeah, I think
Like,
it
it's just going to be aggressive. Maybe it might even be aggressive towards its own kind.
Can this thing swim? Like, can it swim? I'm just thinking, like, if this thing was like so meaningful to like this ecosystem of sorts, like, why not just like, do a freaking swan dive into Tychus B?
Because
Like,
it could swim. Didn't it come out of the water when we first saw it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can only swim for so long, right? Like, just go.
You don't,
really,
you
really
don't
deep.
know that. You don't. It's
Bash your head
it's
against an
alien
underwater
creature.
cliff?
You
I don't know.
what it can do to survive and where it doesn't.
I'm
It
just-
can
I'm trying to
survive in
fi-
space. Why can't it survive underwater?
I'm just trying to find a happy ending. That's all I'm trying to do.
Are you lamenting the lack of potential, like the crew not necessarily trying to save it?
There's that. Yeah, and I'm,
You know,
like, I am going like
more
back
solutions.
to yes. Yeah, like there's always hope. I think that's the thing, like with Trek. Like there's like the annoying amount of hope that there is, right? And optimism. I think that's been like a staple of Trek for the longest time. Right?
Yeah,
And yeah,
but-
like you could like take your jellyfish moth and like, set a heading for the nearest, superstar or whatever and like burn up in its atmosphere. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but I also think, like, going back to the tone of the episode, this reminded me more of like, reporters that would have been around during like the Vietnam War, trying to expose the bad stuff that was going on at the time.
Sure.
And when you think about there really wasn't a way to necessarily do better. So maybe it's kind of a lesson in, yeah, I mean, you got to have hope, you got to find creative solutions, but sometimes there are scenarios where you just got to let them play out the way they play out. You are talking about a literal bioengineered super weapon.
Yeah.
That probably, in quotations, can't control the fact that it's always going to be aggressive. And, you fly to the outer reaches of the galaxy. It's like, stay here. But what happens when somebody runs across it? What happens if it just lets off a pulse and destroys a star, which destroys a planet? Like
What
those.
happens if it gets angry and all dilithium blows up?
Yeah, start screaming really loud.
Boo frickety hoo.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. It is.
Sorry.
It would have been nice if they would have maybe tried to think about a couple of other ways that maybe they could save it. But I think on the other side, I do feel like they made it clear that this thing was too far gone. Like there wasn't anything else that it could be but a weapon, and it would probably endanger its own, offspring, species, whatever, anyone passing near it, so on and so forth. So
Yeah, I think sometimes you think about a weapon, you just kind of have to destroy it, right? Even if it is, a living creature, I think at some point, right? If that's what it wants, you have to sort of also respect its wishes in a sense.
Yeah. Well, I think that, I feel like that's basically it, like with our Jikaru storyline.
That's largely the story. I mean, you could go into some of the interpersonal stuff that happened in the episode as well.
I think we kind of talked about it, but like, I think it is pretty brief, but there is probably some things worth mentioning, like with the interpersonal stuff, like the Beto stuff. So like we said, like, right, it's this documentary that Beto's doing, right? Ortegas's little brother, who we met earlier in the season. He was getting really close with Uhura, and it seems like they're kind of in some sort of romantic relationship. No idea like if it's exclusive or not, but they've got some kind of hots for each other, from what I can tell. And he's like asking some interesting questions along the way, like trying to like just to kind of dig at people, right? Like kind of dig in at like how like La'an talks about like weapons and like tactical stuff. M'Benga, right, with his kind of like prying in a way his history of being the ghost during the Klingon War. Yeah. And even like at one point, like he's using his relationship with Uhura to try and get information and trying to record covertly, and that kind of like blows up in his face.
Yep.
I don't know, like any thoughts about just like some of those dynamics in this episode, guys?
Well, I think there are definitely some interesting moments in these little interviews. I think Spock talking about the incident he had as a child and how his humanity is seen as a weakness on Vulcan, and he tried to literally cut out his humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But that humanity, being on the Enterprise, that humanity has given him some strength, right? So I thought that was really interesting. I thought the Pike moment where he says, "Have you ever seen someone die?" or something like to that effect. It's like, if you did, I hope it never happens to you, but if you did, you wouldn't appreciate being asked these questions that you're asking about it. That was like that was a nice moment there.
Yep.
I didn't much care for the La'ans. First of all, like, I feel like this whole season has been about trying to like soften La'an. And like this like they put her in like a full leather outfit with combat boots and cornrows, and she was like at the firing range, and I'm like, I don't think I like that look for her, especially contrasting it to what they've tried to do this season by putting her in the skirt, the dress, giving her like a romantic interest with Spock. At the end, when they're having dinner, she's got her hair down and she looks good, right? It was just a brief moment, but it's like, I was like, damn, they just turned her into like combat person lady over here, and I was like, I don't think I like that. And then at the final moment, like Uhura does the "what is Starfleet," right?
Yeah.
Starfleet is the people, right?
Yep.
We're what's important, not the like. I don't know what the quote is, but she's like, the people are what makes Starfleet, not the other way around, right? Starfleet doesn't make the people make Starfleet. And I thought that was really interesting to get at the heart of that, answering this question, what is Starfleet? It's the people out there that are courageously, boldly going, making these choices, making these discoveries, dealing with these ethical dilemmas, and when their orders tell them to do something, they have to maybe struggle with that, because we see a lot of points in this episode where they're like, well, that's outside my orders, right? Sometimes we don't even know what we're supposed to be doing until we get there, right? And we're maybe not in the room where it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's it. Like for the episode, basically, I think we've talked it to death, but we can go ahead and jump right into evaluating it. So let's do Delta stuff as best we can. So looking at the different divisions of Starfleet service, how well do you think the different divisions were represented in this episode? What is Starfleet?
I mean, I guess the whole remote controlled mind meld VR experience, I guess, could be, a science-y thing.
I mean, I know we don't always like to talk about it from the dark perspective, the science that went on with these Lutani to be able to engineer and control, right? This Chikari is science and engineering. I know we don't like to think about it from that perspective. We try to think about it from the positive perspective, but that does seem like they said it was like a years long project to be able to do this, right? So that's something if we want to look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, it is a thing.
I mean, command, could be there. If you're talking about ethical decision making and having to deal with like shades of gray, when you're in a stressful, tense kind of situation like that.
Well, and also like Uhura, just her wanting to push forward with communication.
Sure.
Instead of just trying to shove bombs down its throat or something like that. So, everybody on the ship has a responsibility to try their best. And when your ensign, your communications officer, feels like they have an opportunity to avoid bloodshed, I guess, and Pike's acceptance of that, trust that she can make the attempt, I think that can be filed under command there.
Okay.
And I also think Pike, like, going to Admiral April and saying, I know what my orders are, and I'm not saying I'm refusing them, but things have changed. The situation has changed on the ground, right? I'm here and you're not. Like, so I'm not saying I'm not going to follow your orders, but, like, I feel like I need to tell you about how things have changed and potentially do something about it. I think that's, like, it's small, but I think that's an important aspect of command as well, right? Realizing things on the ground have changed.
Yep.
By the way, when do you think we're going to get Pike in a more permanent role as fleet captain?
I don't know. Season 4.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Season 5.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
We have 2 episodes left. Wait, no.
3
Sorry,
episodes.
I'm sorry. We have 3 episodes left of this season, and then we have 10 episodes of season 4, and then 6 episodes of the final season. So that's 19 episodes left of, tying up some loose ends, and Fleet Captain has to be one of them. I know it was like a throwaway kind of thing they did. Was it last season or the season before?
I think it was last season.
Yeah, he wore like the Fleet Captain insignia for like half an episode, basically.
Yep.
I don't even remember what episode that was.
Me either.
Yeah.
But he wore it. It was one of those like wreath kind of insignias.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's.
One other thing.
What's up, bud?
It just popped into my head that I wanted to just throw out here before ratings and everything, because it's not really relevant to the rating. But we did mention Uhura's family, and I don't know if they particularly talked about her family in this show, like them dying. We obviously read that book a while back that sort of discussed the shuttle accident. It seems like they're all gone here. In the book, it was like, I don't even remember, to be honest.
I thought they talked about it in like Children of the Comet or something. Like,
it was when
really early on.
Yeah, like she was like kind of like a Debbie Downer. Rightfully so. Like at the captain's mess, like the first dinner she comes, like
it's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been
It's been a while.
3-4 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
But I can still hold
man, you're gonna take me back, man. Take me back. All right, let's get into it, man. Let's do let's rate this thing. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a dumpster fire, 10 being amazing, let's do this. Eric, I'm going to do this one for you, man. Since you recently said that I never go first, I will go first just for you.
Again, 2 weeks in a row.
And you will not like it. You will not like it.
Okay.
All right. So one of my buddies, he sent me a text. And I was still, I was out of state, so like I couldn't, watch it like right when it came out. Like I was working. Like anyway, he's like, this is what I thought of the episode. He kept it pretty general. Like he's like, this is how I feel about it. I can't wait to kind of hear your thoughts. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm watching it on the plane on the way back home, and like I felt like I was watching like a 60 minutes kind of special, like when the thing comes on, like with how like just comes up, and then even like the end, like how the credits roll with like that static shot, and then like the theme music at the very end. It was interesting. Like we said at the beginning, like it was a different take that we've had on how the episode was put together. One of my gripes, and I might get some pushback on this, but I feel strongly about this. We have been talking about for almost 3 full seasons, guys, about how we want an Ortegas-focused episode. Or just a little bit to a lot more focus on her. We've had more on the rest of the ensemble compared to Ortegas. And we had some pieces that were there based on like what was sprinkled in this episode, but in my opinion it was a miss. This could have been a more Ortegas focused episode, but instead this season has focused more on a recurring guest star than it has on an ensemble main cast member, and I have a problem with that. We've done more character development in like 3 or 4 episodes with Beto than we have with Ortegas, and I have a problem with that.
You could also argue we've done that with 2 guest characters, Roger Corby as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a problem with this. We have a book, which we explored some of it, but even still, like, what we still have with Ortegas is I fly the ship and Gorn bad, baby. And I'm not like here to like crap all over her trauma. Like, I get it. Okay? Trauma is a very real thing. I deal with it in my profession. I am not crapping on that. It is a real deal thing, and I know people that listen to this, there might be people out there that are dealing with their own trauma process. Okay? Not crapping all over it. But we are missing opportunity after opportunity, and we're going to get through this whole dang series and not know crap about our helmsman. And that pisses me off. It really does. Between that and the fact that, again, with Beto, we're learning about Beto and how, like, his relationship with Uhura. This was more of a Beto and Uhura episode than it was an Ortegas episode. What could have been an Ortegas episode. We're doing Next Gen Greatest Hits, like I said at the beginning, and it was just, there were so many question marks of like, what is the point of this? Like, what is it just an exercise in thinking ethically about a case study? Because I can do that with my students. I can do that with my students in the classroom. Like, we can go through an ethical decision-making model and be fine. Right? Like, not that we're not supposed to think critically and go through ethical decision-making and consider things that maybe we probably would have never considered before. I mean, that's partly what sci-fi and Star Trek does, but there's just a lot of, like, rehashing of stuff. It's reminding me of other stuff. It doesn't feel particularly original, and I just was bored to tears. I did not like this episode at all. I mean, good for them for taking a try at it. But yeah, I just not a good thing. And I'm looking at some of my scores, and I feel like I was kind of harsh with one episode, and I might have to change that when we do like a retrospective. But God, guys, like, I did not like this episode. I don't know what it was trying to do. And it was at the expense of a main cast member. So for me, I hate to even do this, but this is a 5 for me. I did not like this episode. This was a dumpster fire.
Ooh.
You're welcome. So, who's next?
Plot twist. I did not see that coming. Even after talking with you through this episode, like, I didn't see that coming. Like, I get your perspective of Ortegas, and like we've been told for a long time that we're gonna get more Ortegas, and hopefully we will. Like, I mean, we sort of like, you know, we removed her from active duty because she disobeyed orders in a tense situation, and there's been no follow-up to that.
No, none.
Literally at all, right? She's just back on duty like nothing ever happened.
Yep.
So like hopefully we're gonna get that. I would like to see that. We're setting up something with Dr. Mbenga here. Like we didn't talk about him, but I feel like they're laying the groundwork for him to be out the door pretty soon here. Like, his kills classified, redacted.
Yep.
Have you ever erased security footage? I don't recall.
I don't know.
Maybe. To me that's interesting. I know, like, feel like when we did the Shadow to Conforti episode, I think David, you were like, I'm not interested in that. I don't remember what you said specifically. You can say it, but like you're like, I'm not interested in that, but I know we have to come back to it at some point. I think you said something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a doctor between Mbenga and McCoy, and that's Dr. Piper.
Well, we could just write him out. Very sad. Anyway, I feel like this documentary, like Chase said, you said, I don't know what they were trying to do with this. I felt like they were just trying something new. But this documentary that we watched felt so amateurish. And like there's those scenes we didn't talk about where he's like spying on Pike and Una. It's like, well, I thought he had full access. And even if you say there are some things that you don't have access to that we are allowed to classify, right? I know even in our world, like the Federation Freedom of Information Act, right? In our world, the Freedom of Information Act, there's still certain things you can keep from the public, even under those requests, right?
Right.
So if he's not allowed in there, how did he get his camera in there, first of all? And how did that scene get approved for the documentary? So I'm struggling. This documentary just felt amateurish, right? It felt like something a film school student would make, and I just all the Dutch angles and the shooting from down here and shooting from up here, and the point where he's got the drone up close, but then we're shooting from the other drone back here, so you see his little drone right up next to somebody's face. Like, get that camera out of my face. I don't know. So it's like, I didn't like that. I didn't. But I do, and I get it's Encounter at Farpoint. Like, we've done that ethical dilemma, but I still really like that story of, here's this creature that's been altered, and in a sense we have to try to set it free, and we have to deal with, these are our orders, but do our orders make sense? I like that, and that we did that in Insurrection, right? So like we are rehashing things, but I still feel like that's enough to hold my attention, right? It doesn't make me bored. It doesn't make me hate it. It makes me be like, okay, I've seen this before, but I still enjoyed this episode enough to not flame it. I don't know. I'm just looking at some of the other ratings that I gave here. I'll give it a 7.
All right, David, is your rating a 6?
Oh, okay. So I mean, I could dribble off of most of your, the two of yours points already. The amateur Windows movie maker beginning, the kind of the way in which that they chose to do a documentary in general, it just sort of it didn't quite ring super. It just didn't ring right, I guess. And you know, I know that like the whole point is like Beto's upset that his sister left and joined Starfleet and all that family kind of thing, but it just didn't ring right. You know, I've watched a lot of like war movies, and you know, you have a lot of those with like the field reporters and stuff like that, and like the documentary stuff surrounding wars and field reporters. And I kind of think that like we're not in the right time to start asking some of those like questions yet. I kind of feel like that would have been better positioned in a time that we're never going to see a show, which would have been like pre-burn, you know, pre-discovery going to the future thing, because that's when the Federation actually started to fall apart. We even read that one book about the diplomat on the planet that couldn't get resources and stuff or something. Like, it's been a long time since we've read that particular book, but it was a Discovery era book, if I remember correctly. And that would have been more, in my opinion, appropriate for that time, because the Federation actually was falling apart and somebody should have been asking questions on a bigger stage. But in this one, it's kind of like, I know it's sort of supposed to be cowboy era, you know, but it just didn't feel, it kind of felt scummy to me in a way. It just felt oily. And I just really wasn't in it. You know, the cute little relationship stuff is, you know, it's fine. I don't really care too much about that. I think that there's commentary with the whole recording people sort of when they're not really looking, sort of a modern day commentary, and how people do a lot of that setup BS on like YouTube and all that kind of crap that goes on, and the invasion of privacy that's not technically an invasion of privacy because you're out in public and that sort of stuff. I think there's some commentary there that maybe probably needs to be discussed elsewhere. Not that it's bad, it's just like it needs to be discussed more. But even as we sort of nitpick through the whole dilemma, it's like we didn't really understand why we were even here, really. You know, there really wasn't a payoff. And then even, you know, at the end, it's like they didn't really have any hope of saving this crazy majestic creature thing, you know. It just, you know, it just didn't really hit the mark in a lot of ways. I do like the fact that like Ortega's kind of opened up a little bit at the very end with her brother. But, you know, to Chase's point, we've been kind of talking about this. You had this PTSD moment with her. She was stabbed through the gut. By all, you know, semblance of sanity, she should be dead. But she's not. And we really haven't dealt with that. Now she's back on the bridge. She's flying the ship. You know, she's building dirt bikes in her quarters for some reason. But hey, I'm not gonna, I don't, where are you gonna ride it? Okay. The holodeck is only so big. Okay. I'm just saying, where are you gonna ride it? I would want to ride it. You gonna ride it up and down the hall?
Yeah, ride it through the halls.
Just through the halls. just spewing fumes through the halls. You know, synthesize yourself some gasoline for it. You know, that'd be great. Anyway. But I mean, Chase, you're right. At some point, because it's been so Spock and and Chapel heavy.
It's been Spock the romantic lead.
Well,
It's been.
Exactly, and they have sprinkled a horror in there. I'm not saying that's bad, but like there's one bridge crew member we just haven't explored, and it's just a little ridiculous. And even, I mean, Una was present here, obviously, and that was fine, but there really hasn't been much with her either. And it's just kind of like, if you're gonna make an episode that looks the way this one did, perhaps like throw in a character we really just don't know that well to maybe help push it forward. It's kind of like taking a risk. If you're going to take a risk, take a risk. But to all three of our point, this episode really wasn't taking a risk, because it's really, as you all have said, it's kind of a rehash of what we've seen before. It's not really super original. However, the only thing that I do want to highlight before rating that I did like, as I said, I think it is important to periodically question what is Starfleet and come back to the actual answer. Not like some subversive BS, but like actually like this is what Starfleet is supposed to be. It's not blind. We are supposed to be doing the right thing. We are supposed to be doing right by each other. We're supposed to be protecting each other, risking for each other, exploring, learning. There's fighting, but at the same token, coming back and just, realizing that we're all together on this little ship, flying through the sky, in an unimaginable realm that we here in our time can't fathom. Just because Jeff Bezos sends a rocket in the air doesn't mean we're any closer to actual space than what we are. We're just not. We're not there. So this is unimaginable. So I did like that. I do think it's important. I just think that the guys they put it in just didn't really hit right. It wasn't as bad to me as Shuttle to Confori. So I can't like drop it below that personally. But it just really wasn't a strong suit. And also coming off of an almost across the board 9. I gave it a 9.1, but like a 9 episode last week. It's kind of a little bit of a letdown. So I'm gonna roll. I'm actually kind of thinking pretty similarly to Eric. It's like, I don't think that I would necessarily care to watch it again, but I don't feel the need to necessarily flame it to live in hell. So I'm just gonna say 7 too. I think that's okay.
Is that a 7 or a 7.2?
7 also?
7. Yes, also.
Okay.
2 with two O's.
Okay.
Grammar.
That's a thing. Who knew?
7 también.
And y'all wonder why I don't go first. Y'all temper me sometimes. This is just raw. Just me being raw. Okay.
If you don't like it, you don't like it. I mean, it is what it is.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. All right. So we have 7s from Eric and David and a 5 from myself. That's a 6.3 for the average rating amongst us. Just out of curiosity, do we have the average rating pulled up right now?
Yeah, it's 6.4 on IMDb.
You're welcome, guys.
So we're pretty close.
You're welcome. Bringing the average down.
Oh, the first comment here, TNG pilot, anyone?
Oh, shoot.
so some other people, I guess, got it too, I suppose.
There we go.
I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we have 3 episodes left for the season. Next time we have the 4.5 Vulcans episode.
Oswald.
Yeah. And I remember I had some thoughts and some feelings about this during that predictor episode that we did prior to the season starting. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if I'm less ornery, when we discuss that episode. You laugh.
It's automatically getting a point deduction for Patton Oswalt.
Golly.
I don't hate Patton Oswalt. I just don't particularly care for him as an actor.
This episode might be saved just depending on how tall like Pike's Peak is in his Vulcan.
Oh yeah, it's
Mode.
pretty tall from
Yeah.
all those previews.
At the same time, like, I feel like you should have a bowl cut. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway.
You want to do a little bit of the modern Green Lantern bowl cut?
Oh, the Guy Gardner bowl cut?
Yeah, the Guy Gardner.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw an action figure of him. We were at the mall the other day. Anyway, good talk, everyone. Guys, thanks as always, everyone in listener land. Are you feeling salty like me, or are you more in the area with Eric and David? Get in contact with us, trtvpod@gmail.com. Of course, you can send a voice only to 817-752-4757. There's a 3-minute limit, so be mindful of that. Other than that, if you want to mail us something, get it to us. Lone Star Station, P.O. Box 2455, Azle, Texas 76098. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, remember to boldly go and make it so.